Stopping, Simeon under pressure. Sack! Naquan Jones!
There they are, all the
Oh,
sacks.
I love it.
We had a listener call in that wanted all the sacks pieced together. We bring in the voice of the Titans, Mike Keith, on to 3HL. Hey, Mike, what's up? How are you?
I'm just so thankful that wasn't all 27 this year. That's what I thought it was.
Doesn't get old, though, does it?
How about that? 20,
Not on Sunday. On Monday it does, yeah.
20 great point. 27 sacks through 10 games, 19 all of last season. And let's start with Big Jeff, Mike, with the last 2 games, 10 tackles and 5 sacks. I mean, just an unbelievable tear by that guy.
Playing on a bad ankle, too. You know, and still playing over 90% of the snaps. I mean, that's football player right there. That's what you spend the money for. That's what you spend a 19th pick overall for. Is you want to find somebody. You know, everybody said, why are you doing this? You don't know. He's torn his ACL on February 12th. Why are you doing this? You don't hear that question much anymore. And I don't mean to say it to be smart alecky. I say it because the feeling was he was such a difference maker. There's never been any doubt in my mind that he goes pick 3 or pick 4 in that draft if he doesn't tear that ACL. Mm-hmm. And, you know, John Robinson had done his due diligence and they had done all that work. And, you know, they obviously felt great about it. And he's played really good football for us. And now he's taken it to a different level. He's elite. He is an elite interior pass rusher who has a chance to go into a conversation with some guys, you know, I mean, I'm not saying he's better than Aaron Donald, but I think at a certain point you can start mentioning him in that conversation with some of those guys who play on the interior who do really special things. It's fun to watch. And he's got help. I mean, that's the thing is Autry continues to play well, and Naquan Jones, where has this guy come from? And Murchison has come back and has done a good job. And, you know, just overall, Tart has played well when he's been healthy. So, you know, they've been real fortunate. Pecco had 2 tackles yesterday coming off the practice squad. So they just keep finding these guys. And, you know, the rotation's pretty good, and it's been impressive.
And that's part of the process, Mike. You gotta get to the front door. Then you got to figure out, do you ring the doorbell or knock? Then you got to get in the house and close the door and lock the door. So that's what it is for me, man, with Big Jeff. Like, he's at the door now. You know, he's out there mentioned, like Aaron Donald inside. He looking through the peephole, but he just don't know Danico and them. See, you got to give them props. You talk about the guys around them, Mike. What about them? See, I wish your voice was deep enough. I mean, this is a conversation, people. I know y'all think, like, we got Mike Keefe on Slay all over the place. You darn right I'm all over the place. Because this how excited you make me, Mike. So I try to just get all of it in, and you might not hear from me the rest of the show. But this is what I'm saying. I wish you could get your voice deep enough like the Kimbe Mutombo so you could do the no on those pass deflections that the Nico Autry and them guys like Naquan, all those guys, man. Because those are just as impressive as the sacks at times, because those are timely.
They really are. And I understand 100% what you're saying. It's fun to watch all of them. And I think what they've created, too, is because you've got Danico Autry and Daquan Jones was like this, too. He was a really good player. They just couldn't afford to keep him. And Jeff and, you know, some of these guys that they've had, well, now you've set a standard that these young guys are trying to live up to. And seeing it done the right way, you know, certainly it helps the coaching staff to have guys like that in place who are doing it this way, because if you're seeing it, you're saying, okay, that's what I do. This is what I work on in practice. This is how I go about it. I mean, this is not a training film. This is not just getting to the door and knocking. This is kicking the door through, you know, with a jackhammer and then kicking it on top of somebody and then jumping on them. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's what's happening right now with this pressure. And it's fun to watch, you know, and it makes your entire defense so much better because there's so many more things that you can do schematically. And, you know, to get Fulton back yesterday on the back end, you know, he made 3 or 4 really important plays. And I think they'll continue to get better. That's tough offense they're seeing yesterday based on all the scheme. And, Sean Payton had a lot of tricks up his sleeve trying to keep him in the game, and to his credit, he did it. He just didn't have quite enough.
Man, Mike, you just said all that, and he described the boom boom room perfectly. Like, you go in there, kick the door in, jump on them, don't let them up, lock the door. Like, that was it, Mike. Mike, you've been watching the podcast. What you been doing, Mike? You been watching me. I'm watching you. You watching me. Which one is it?
That's it. I love you, Ron Slay. I really do.
It's funny. I went back and watched the game again today, and Trent Green was talking during the broadcast. Every time that ball gets tipped, he gets to this day as a quarterback, he gets nervous until it hits the ground. But there were multiple opportunities for Simeon to get passes down the field that got knocked down at the line of scrimmage. You have no idea where those balls are going and what's going to happen. I mean, those are huge plays.
Yeah, big plays. And at some point, we're going to intercept one of those and run it back for a touchdown. That's going to happen if you keep doing that. But getting the hands up, Naquan got his hands up, and Autry seems to get one or two every game. And Jeff has that ability as well. That's good stuff to see in there. It's just making things happen and making plays in situations where you don't necessarily make the tackle. That's affecting everything. The Titans just didn't have enough playmakers like that. And I think everyone listening right now totally gets why you wanted Danico Autry so badly. Even in a game where he doesn't have 10 tackles and 4 sacks, I mean, he affects everything. Yeah. He drives people crazy.
So you just plug and play linebackers, I guess. Rashaan Evans had 2 really good games before he went out. Harold Landry was leading the team in tackles by 19 tackles. And not Harold Landry, David Long Jr.
David Long.
Yeah. And now you plug in Monty Rice, led the team with 11 tackles yesterday.
So I'm talking to a friend of mine before the game yesterday morning, and I'm sitting here. I watched, like most people did, I watched every play at Tennessee, Georgia, and I just couldn't get over that Georgia defense.
Yeah.
And they got like 35 guys they play on defense. And all I could think about was Monty Rice. And I said, Monty Rice was good enough to get on the field with that defense last year. And, none of those Georgia guys have big stats because they play so many people, right? Mm-hmm. So now you're seeing why the Titans took him in the 3rd round. I mean, he's a thumper. He brings it. And as he figures out more in pass coverage and as he figures out his timing in blitz, that's a really, really good football player. We had an idea he was, but I think seeing him more and more and realizing where he's come from and, what he's about, the statistics don't tell the whole story about him. He wasn't a guy – David Long came out of West Virginia and he'd made like 500 tackles. Monty Rice hadn't. But Monty Rice can really, really play. And I think the Titans may have stole 2 in the 3rd round between Monty Rice and Elijah Molden.
Mike Keith, the voice of the Titans, with us on 3HL. Here's the thing. And you've got national guys out there, Keyshawn Johnson, the latest, saying this isn't a real 8-2 team. I don't even know what he means by that, but, I mean, I see 8 wins, I see 2 losses, 8-2.
It's
right?
a fake team.
But
okay.
It's amazing because we all watch, obviously you do, but we all watch every snap of every game, right? So we kind of know what's going on within the organization here and within the players on that roster and how competitive they are and how their mindset is to just figure it out, right? Like that's what they do. And that's what they've done. And here they sit, a game and a half in front in the AFC, Mike.
Yeah, and I mean, I think I get what he's talking about, though, with the we're not a real 8-2. Listen, if we're going to do more, through not just the rest of the season, but into January, we got some stuff we got to get fixed. We got to run the ball better. Mm-hmm. We got to get the offense back cranking. I mean, our offensive production in terms of yardage in the last 2 games is less than 100 yards more than what we were averaging per game before the Derrick Henry injury. So, there are things that have to get straight. I got it, and I understand where you're coming from on that national media. That's okay. But I don't think what they capture about the Titans is the Titans figure out how to win that game. That's it. that game was so predictable in terms of what it was going to look like because you knew what the Saints were going to do, and that meant that you knew what the Titans had to do to figure out a way to win it, and they did. They took advantage of opportunities. They had a call that we can debate whether or not it was roughing the passer, but it goes your way. You've got to cash in. That's right. What counts. You've got to win in those situations. I saw plenty of times when the Titans were 2-8 where that call went against them. And, it's amazing how that happens. It's just that's the way it falls. This is a ball club that gets it, that understands how to win, and I think they get that they've got to get better, that they've got to be able to swing a little more on offense than what they're able to do or what they have done the last two games. And yet, less than 500 yards of total offense, and they've still scored 51 points. So they can come at you a lot of different ways. I think the versatility and the opportunity for improvement are two things that may make the Titans even more dangerous down the stretch than what their record is.
Yeah, and I think that's where my confidence level in this group is because I know that they need to get better, right? Like, and the run game had its struggles, of course, but some of that is due to obviously two new running backs, but also going up against two really good defenses as
that's
well.
Right.
So,
the number one run defense in the league yesterday.
Yeah. So,
and I thought they did some better things. I saw some spark at times. You saw Peterson in the second half kind of find a 5-yard run and a 6-yard run. And, Foreman had the 2 catches. So he was able to add to just the rushing yardage. You see things, and you also know some guys are going to come back too. And there's going to be rest in December. I mean, there are opportunities. So, I get it. And I get this is not a sparkly 8-2 team that's averaging 450 yards a game and giving up 15 yards a game and winning 35-3. But that's also not how the NFL works.
Good stuff, Mike. Texans coming up this weekend. You've got the coaches show tonight. Are we back to Vrabel being on his show tonight?
Yeah, Vrabel's back, and we're back in the bubble at St. Thomas, so we're back to Twitter questions. Would love to have all the Twitter questions that your audience could muster on our behalf. Send them via Twitter at Titans Radio. You can send them right now. Rhett Bryan is compiling them, and we'll begin sending them my way. And we ask them all. I mean, we throw them all at him. He does not care. And Mark Vandermeer from the Texans is also on. Kind of a weird year for them. That's not kind of a weird year for them.
No question.
I don't know whether they're coming or going, but the one thing they do have going for them is David Culley, their head coach. And I think most of us who've had any contact with people who've been around David Culley know he's a pretty special coach. And in this situation, his positivity is certainly keeping the flame alive even when the football team isn't going so